Really excited to be joined today by folks from Wix.com who have been building so much on Cloudflare recently. My name is Brendan. I work on the Workers product team here at Cloudflare. I want to talk to everybody today about how Wix.com is kind of building a platform on top of Cloudflare's Workers for Platforms product, and also just recently last week shipped a really cool new remote MCP server for working with Wix. And so I'm joined today. Dora and Amiss, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Brandon. I'm Do. I'm from Wix. I'm from the developer platform at Wix. Emilis is also. He will introduce himself though. I'm from the team called Wix CLI. We're building developer-oriented tools for our internal developers and for the external developers that are extending the Wix's platform. We're basically building the toolkits for them.
My name is Emilis. I'm a software engineer at Wix. I'm also part of Wix Developer Platform. So as part of Wix Developer Platform, we're basically trying to make sure that our website builder has no limits. We're trying to make sure that you can extend it in any way you want. And I'm part of Spartan's team. We are doing various special projects and just trying to keep up with all the technology, with everything that's going on.
Awesome. Well, on that point of extending Wix's platform and kind of letting people who are building on Wix do kind of whatever that they wanted to build, whatever they want to build, I think we started talking a couple months ago about this kind of new thing that you guys were building to let people write their own code and kind of customize things. Do you want to tell people a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, Wix has a wide variety of products. We have, most famously the editor where you can build your own website, and you have like the what you see it was you get editor, and we have enormous back office where you can extend Wix, like you can use all of Wix business solutions and all of the things that will let you to manage your business with, like marketing, etc., and more. But there's always place for more things that Wix doesn't cover, right? We can't cover everything. We can't have all of the solutions that exist in the world. That's where external developers are coming into the ecosystem to develop their own custom solutions for the Wix user to cover the things that Wix didn't cover, so to say. So for those developers, there's the need to let them run their own code, run their own custom code, whether it be backend code, client code inside the Wix ecosystem. Obviously, first in a slick developer experience way, but also in a secure, isolated way that we can actually execute inside our platform. And the tool that we've built for such a need is basically called the Wix CLI. This is a framework, a meta framework, JavaScript meta framework that external developers can use to extend Wix in a variety of different ways. And it's built on workers for platforms mainly for both the static assets and the backend code itself that they extend with. And yeah, well, I think we can even show it quickly if you're.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, nothing beats a demo. Let's show people what this
yeah,
thing is all about.
awesome. So I think I'm gonna just share my screen here for a second, and we'll see what we get. Let's see. Cool. Yeah. So basically, this is in my IDE. As of recently, it is Cursor, but you can use your any favorite IDE, obviously. And this is a pretty standard, JavaScript framework project, so to say, right? If you're coming from any meta framework that you've ever used, this should look pretty similar to anything you're familiar with. You have your package.json, your dependencies, your node modules, everything that you're used to, and you can develop in your own custom IDE and environment that you choose to. But looking at the actual project, you see that you have a couple of unique things to this project here. You have your Wix config JSON, and you have your .wix, some things that take this project and actually connect it to the Wix ecosystem, but magically for you, right? So imagine that you are whether it be a user on Wix that has its own private business and has some coding orientation. Today, with all of the LLMs and AI, you can achieve great things even without the deepest of knowledge in code. or if you're building for your customers on Wix and you want to do something that is unique to you and not like everybody else is building, then you can use a project like this. And basically, if I spin up the dev server here using the standard dev command as expected, you can see that currently I have two entries in my dev screen here, in my interactive dev screen. One is the simplest one, will open my front end of the website, right? So the neat thing here is that I can do two different options of building a front end for my website. Okay, I can either use the Wix editor that everybody knows, the Wix drag and drop editor, so to say, and add my own custom new widgets with some React code that I inject into Wix. But in this case, I serve a completely plain Astro project. If anybody is familiar with Astro, we decided to go with Astro, big into Astro. We really like their meta framework, so to say, to build the web with. So this is a plain Astro project that you can build the client code with, but the cool part here is that every one of those products that you see on screen on my Astro website is basically not in the code, but it is coming from Wix. So if I open my dashboard, you can see that for that same site, I also have the Wix's back office. So in this case, Wix provides you with not only a dashboard to manage your website, but and obviously a headless CMS, which is expected in a headless building website world, but it also gives you all of the Wix backend and business solutions that you expect. This is the great power of Wix, right? We have years upon years of building great business solutions. So you have your customers and your leads and your bookings and events and stores and catalogs and everything, right? We have a long experience in that area. So everything that you see on the website is basically coming from my store, from my products in my stores, and it's automatically connected and magically connected for me, right? So everything here is coming from here. And if I just, for example, go to this dashboard page, you can see that this is just a small dashboard page that I've built, a custom one, and I can define, for example, a discount. It's just a dashboard page that defines custom discounts for products. So if I do that and I refresh my Astro site here, you can see that it should immediately show that, and it's fast like that. Now, the neat part here is that this dashboard page, for example, is a custom one, right? So this custom dashboard page is served from my machine and my code, and this is basically both from the asset perspective, right? The site static assets, the client static assets here, and both from the backend, because I do have a backend function here. Those are all being served from a worker, from a Cloudflare worker. Whether I know that or not, because you can see that thanks to Cloudflare's Miniflare and a lot of the toolings that Cloudflare provides for us, we can abstract the syntax the way that we'd like to, depending on the, the expertise level of our developer, of our audience. So we can create a syntax that we like for them. But basically, this is a Cloudflare worker that lets them build their own custom serverless functions and their own custom serverless code and their own custom React code that is being served both for the dashboard and Astro code for the website itself. And this is all being served from Cloudflare. So during development, the most expected one during development, everything is coming from localhost, right? So if I call this API again, for example, and I will just change this, and this is again one of the great things that Cloudflare provides for us in this sense. So you can see that this API will basically, the call to this API will go from my localhost, and every API that I want to build on my backend can also come from localhost because we have Miniflare that simulates the environment of Cloudflare. But once I'm content with what I've built, like my website, right, and I'm content with the dashboard that I've built, I can easily also send it to Cloudflare and ship it by just building. And once I'm done with building, I can deploy it to Cloudflare. And again, from a user perspective, this is all seamlessly integrated and seamlessly done for them to easily build websites with complete custom code and a complete back office experience, custom back office experience, business solutions, CMS, anything that they need, super easily. So you can see I just deployed my website, and if I open this, this is as fast as you can get to production and to deployment. And technically, the nice thing here is that this is also a preview deployment, right? Because we're working with Workers for Platforms. And the neat thing is that thanks to Workers for Platforms, we have a couple of things that we are gaining here, right? We have, first of all, we have a lot of control because every request that goes to one of our users and workers, right? Our users serverless functions first go through our worker, our dispatch worker. So we can apply like custom logic, custom rate limiting. We can bound that to specific premium plans if we want to. We can make sure that nothing malicious happens between the request that goes out to the user code before the request for the user code, but also we can deploy basically as many of those as we'd like. So this is due to the ease of deployment, to the fast experience, and to the way that it is built and architectured. We can deploy as many of these as we'd like. So this is an easy way to give our users a way to deploy previews and create multiples of those without even worrying about affecting their production, so to say, right? So I just deployed a preview of my website. I can create any of those that I'd like, share them with my team, share them with anyone. And once I'm actually happy with what I've built and everybody else for my team is happy, I can ship it to production, where I have my actual production worker that is connected to a domain that I've created and a domain that I've assigned to that worker. Again, thanks to a lot of the things that we use on Cloudflare, which is like not only the workers, but also custom host names and a lot of things that Cloudflare provide for us that now I can actually deploy to production and affect my production website. And again, this is all served from Cloudflare. So every user, every one of those deployments is an end user worker on the Workers for Platforms ecosystem that goes to our own worker, our dispatch worker that lets us control and apply Wix business logic that we want, but before Cloudflare actually serves the user code. So we have that customizability that we want and that control that we need, but almost to no impact on the user's experience and the end user experience that actually needs to get the website and get the statics as fast as possible. So this is like the gist of what we provided, and in my opinion, the way that Cloudflare lets us do that and lets us build that, both from the developer perspective and the actual end result here, is just a fast, a very fast and very good way to ship web applications that are seamless, quick, easy, and thanks to the MCP that Emily's can also go into in details, the Wix MCP that connects to any AI agent, developing that project, writing that code, right? It cannot be easier, so to say, because the MCP can write it for, help the AI agent write it for you. It is aware of every API that you need and can actually do that, build websites like this with Astro and with the Wix CMS and business solution through the APIs in no time, honestly, in no time. So that's like the high level of it.
This is very cool. One of the things that I'm most excited about here is that it's kind of combining the things that each of us are best at, like
Yeah.
using one of the best in class open source frameworks and Astro, the things that we're great at Cloudflare for infrastructure, the things that are unique that you can do with
Mm-hmm.
Wix.com. But it still feels very much just like any web application that,
Yep.
all of us are used to building as developers.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. Like actually, like you said, the combination of taking the best part of every like every part of this integration, taking the best at what they're good at, Like we have the ASPO for the framework that you want to use to build your code. We have Cloudflare for the compute, the runtime, the hosting, and we have Wix for the business solutions, for the backend, for the APIs, for all of your business needs, and the MCP to give you the boost that you need to actually do that quickly and easily. That's that's how it all connects for us.
Awesome. Well, MCP is kind of all the rage. Everybody's talking about it right now. Should we just get into that and show people what you've been cooking? This all happened like last week, right? Like you guys got this going fast.
It was really fast. We started working on the MCP maybe 3 weeks ago. And initially, when we started working on this, it was a local MCP. So basically, with local MCPs, you just install them from NPM or any other package manager, and you run them locally. But we quickly decided to switch to a remote MCP because we think it's a better and more convenient way to use MCPs. You don't need to have anything installed on the user's machine. And I want to emphasize that we're treating our MCP as a product. We treat it very seriously. And we think it's the future and it's going to be a very important part of Wix. So with remote MCP, we control the runtime environment and we can make sure that it works 100% of the time. So when we decided to move it to remote, we decided that one day and another day we already had a working remote MCP, the initial version. And we chose Cloudflare because it was extremely easy to go with production. And when you are running fast, you are looking ways how to deploy something as quickly as possible to not waste time on infrastructure.
Um, I'm curious if we can take a look at it at all. Do you have a little demo up?
Yes, of course.
Let's do it.
So I think we took a very interesting approach to MCPs because usually MCPs have a predefined set of tools that can be used in one scenario or the other. At Wix, we've got a lot of different products. We've got a lot of different apps. We've got bookings. We've got stores, e-com, and a bunch of more. And a few years ago, we went on a path to open all of our APIs to our external developers and users. And the idea is that you could build anything you want using our APIs. And instead of exposing tools for every single use case, we decided to expose two different set of tools. One set of MCP tools are used to search through our documentation. So you can just search and it gives you all the details how to use our APIs. Another set of tools that we've got are used to call those APIs. Some APIs are REST, some are JS SDK. So with our MCP, you can call absolutely any REST API that we expose. So let me show you an example. I've got a Wix site, and in Wix, we've got contacts. As you can see, I only have one contact. So with my MCP, I can ask, how many contacts do I have in my Wix site? What the MCP will do is that, first of all, it will fetch the list of my sites, and then it will try to understand how can it fetch the contacts. So it went to the REST docs, and it tried to find the API to get contacts. It read some articles from our docs portal, and then it tried to read the read contacts API. It tried to understand what this API does, and then it tried to understand how to actually use this API. So this tool returned the schema of the request and the response, and then eventually it called the API, and it saw that I have only one contact. So let's try to create a new one. It will again try to understand how to use our docs, and then it will find the method for creating a contact, and it will generate a new contact in my Wix site.
This is so clever. I mean, it's a totally different approach to how I see so many other people tackling this with just like, I'm going to create a tool for every different type of operation. What was the thing that kind of got you down this path or showed you that this could be viable?
Um, we've been working on AI related stuff for a very long time, and a colleague of mine did a POC with a very similar approach a couple of years ago when LLMs were still pretty new. So we knew that this is possible, and we already had all of our APIs pretty well documented with schemas, and everything was platformized, and we already had all the services that you could use to fetch our documentation and navigate and search and so on. So we did some more prototyping, and we saw that with this approach you have unlimited opportunities, because it can not only manage your site, but you can also use those docs and those tools to help our developers write Wix code. So what you saw here were APIs that were used to manage my Wix site, but I can also ask how to fetch Wix contacts from my React component. And now it will give me code examples how to actually use our APIs. So for example, now it knew the contacts API that I just used and give me an example how to use it. We also have Wix JavaScript SDK, so I can ask how to call Wix contacts query API from Wix SDK. And now it will give me code examples how to do that. So you can use this MCP to vibe code, which I think is going to be a very, very important part of our software engineering work.
It's really cool to think about how those things, all the prompts that you asked for, build on top of each other. Like, you first asked it a question that was pretty open-ended, then you were asking it for, how do I use this SDK? But it has the rest of what you were talking about in context to kind of guide you along a better path.
We are really excited. When we made a first working version of this MCP, we sent it to our manager, and the next morning he sent us, I think, a 15 or 20-minute video of all the things he did with this MCP, all the different combinations he tried to do. So that's really cool. Another interesting point is that AI makes mistakes. It's okay. But the most important part is that it can learn from its mistakes. So if it's trying to call some REST API, and if it crafts the request payload in a wrong way, it will get an error message, and then it will learn from that error message where it made the mistake, and it will fix itself.
That's really cool. So I'm thinking about, I remember I used Wix many years ago when I was building something. And, so much of where Wix seems like it's really cool is that it makes so much of this more accessible to people to get up and running and build things quickly. How are you thinking about bringing what you just showed more into Wix.com and, getting it in front of the everyday people who are using your product?
It's definitely something that we are considering, but I think that everyone is still trying to explore what MCPs and AI can do. So I think it will take some time for everyone to figure out where we can best utilize it. But I think that technologies like this will definitely be incorporated. And actually, we already have many LLM-based solutions at Wix. Pretty much every app is using LLM in one way or another.
We also, we've been investing. Wix has been investing even before this, all the LLM and MCP stuff. We've been investing in open platform and the developer target audience at Wix. Usually you see Wix as the main audience is like the do-it-yourself kind of target user, but actually the developer-oriented market, we've been investing it for a long time, and we've been opening our platform, like Emily said, with many APIs that are well documented and well structured with schemas and everything. And every part of Wix, every new feature in Wix, every new part of Wix was always going with the developer first, and then it only got to the main audience of Wix where everybody saw it. So when all of the MCP stuff started and when all of the LLM stuff started, it was like we were already on that path, and it was just the missing piece of a puzzle that we were already building, right? So now, like everything we do in Wix, we target the developer audience, and I have no doubts that inevitably everything that we do for developers will find itself on the main target user of Wix, and will be approachable for them once we understand exactly the power of it.
Especially because, writing code and being a developer is something that's more accessible to almost
Mm-hmm.
everybody at this point
Yep.
now. Um, One of the things I was curious about is, you guys are a smart platform engineering team. You're thinking about developers, and a lot of the time I talk to people, and you know, they want to run all of this stuff themselves. It's like run the entire stack. We're going to run our own infrastructure, the whole nine. You guys took a different approach here and used Cloudflare for lots of pieces of this, and we're looking to it for leverage. Like, tell people a little bit more about that kind of build versus buy trade-off and how you came to that decision.
Well, like Emily said, there's teams in Wix, mainly teams like the Emily's here is from, but our entire developer platform group uh, is is aimed toward bringing in results, right? So we want to break any barrier that is in front of us to get the best products out there for our developers. So my team, for example, has been building internally JavaScript meta frameworks for years, and we definitely weren't the slightest of afraid to acknowledge that it is time to use Astro for our external developers, right? And like Emily said, with Cloudflare, once we see something that is beneficial for our platform, beneficial for our developers, thankfully, the manager of our group is aimed toward is led by results and not by internal stuff. So the thing that we need to do is get the best thing we can out for our developers, and if the best thing is for that MCP server, for example, to be using Cloudflare, that's what we're doing. We're breaking any barriers in the way, and we're getting it to the hands of the users that needs it. So that's the decision here.
When it came with MCPs, I think the decision to pick Cloudflare for the MCP server provider, I think it proved itself very, very quickly because the developer experience was great. It's amazing that we were able to use all the benefits of Cloudflare Workers with something as new as MCP. So having a local worker server running locally or just attaching Chrome DevTools and debugging some issues in there, it was amazing.
Well, we're really grateful for all the feedback you have given us. We learn things all the time from Wix. Where can people check all this stuff out? Where should people go try the MCP server? They're curious.
We've got a marketing site at mcp.wix.com. Feel free to check it out, and we are waiting for any feedback.
Wonderful. Well, if you're listening on the call, tons of people, as you see from Wix, are building MCP servers on Cloudflare right now. Give it a spin. I think we've seen so many people just like this kind of get going in a couple days or a week. And I'm looking forward to see what the next wave of people keep building.
We are also, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Very exciting times.
Very exciting times.
Well, thanks to you both for joining today, and thanks for folks for watching. And we'll be back soon, I'm sure, with more Workers for Platforms things and with more MCP servers. And yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you,
so
everybody.
much for having us.
Thank you.